Alright, so picture this. You just unboxed your shiny new PS5. Maybe it was a gift, maybe you treated yourself. You totally deserve it. And after snapping a dozen obligatory photos and spamming your friends with jealousy-inducing messages, you finally turn it on. But wait, what game should you actually get first? Because let's face it, choosing from that massive library can feel like standing in front of an all-you-can-eat buffet. So many tasty options. But where do you even start? Relax, friend. I got your back. Today we're diving headfirst into 20 must-have PS5 games that'll kickstart your journey into the next-gen gaming world. Whether you're after heart-pounding action, tear-jerking stories, beautiful worlds to explore, or simply something to make you laugh until your controller shakes out of your hands, there's a game here that'll speak directly to you. We're talking about everything. From jaw-dropping 8A blockbusters that'll blow your socks off to those quirky hidden gems that you'll brag about discovering later. And yes, we've thrown in some beloved remakes and cross-gen titles because, let's be real, some classics never die, they just get better graphics. So grab your snacks, settle into that gaming throne of yours, and let's explore the absolute best experiences waiting to be enjoyed on your PlayStation 5. Trust me, after this list, your biggest challenge will be deciding which one to download first. Let's get started. Persona 5 Royal is a Japanese RPG that might seem a bit long for newbies, but it's one of the coolest games out there. You play as a high school student by day, and at night you don a mask as a phantom thief, exploring surreal, twisted versions of real-world palaces to change hearts. The art style and menus alone are so slick they might steal the show. Every battle and move feels like something straight out of an anime. The first time I unleashed a flashy special attack, it felt like I was starring in my own action movie. The gameplay is a mix of life simulation and turn-based combat. During the day, you hang out with classmates, study for exams, and build friendships. At night, you break into palaces and fight monsters with your personas, magical inner selves, using stylish, turn-based battles. It took me a little while to wrap my head around managing the calendar and activities, but the game explains everything really well. Once combat starts, it's super fun. Exploiting an enemy's weakness and seeing them get hammered is oh so satisfying. It never felt like a chore, even when it got late. The story is surprisingly deep and often very witty. It deals with big themes of justice and rebellion, and the characters are fantastic. Each friend you hang out with has their own story arc, and I found myself laughing one minute and getting misty-eyed the next. Persona 5 Royal adds even more to the original game, new characters and scenes, making it the definitive version. Trust me, you'll get invested in these characters and their adventures. A quick warning, this game is very long, seriously, dozens of hours, so make sure you're ready to commit. But if you have the time, it's a rewarding journey. As a new player, you might want to pace yourself and enjoy the story and characters. I ended up loving it and still think about that dramatic showdown in the school halls. If you enjoy stylish RPGs and great music, did I mention how catchy the soundtrack is? Persona 5 Royal is a gem worth diving into. Ratchet & Clank. Rift Apart is pure zany fun from start to finish. As soon as I saw characters popping out of another dimension with no load times, I knew it was a next-gen show-off. The worlds are so colorful and creative. One minute I'm in a neon city, the next I'm on a jungle planet battling a giant crab boss. The humor and characters, especially Ratchet's trusty robot sidekick Clank, plus a new friend kit, are delightful, making the whole adventure feel lively and fun. The arsenal in Rift Apart is just insane. In a good way. You've got everything from the classic Omniblaster to crazy dimension-hopping contraptions. Who wouldn't love that giant carrot-launching gun? Each weapon not only looks and sounds wild, but the way they use the DualSense triggers adds a whole extra kick. I remember unleashing a tornado rifle and feeling the controller shake each time. It's as if the game makes you laugh out loud right along with the characters. And speaking of dimensions, Rift Apart's key feature is how seamlessly you jump between worlds. 1 second Ratchet and Clank are fighting bad guys in one reality, then bam, you instantly drop into an alternate timeline with new challenges. I'll never forget that jaw-dropping moment when I literally jumped through a portal and landed on an entirely new planet without any loading screen. It had me cheering out loud. In short, if you want a game that's equal parts hilarious and epic, and one that shows off just how fast the PS5 is, you can't miss Rift Apart. Every planet feels like a new playground, and the story, while silly, has just enough heart to keep you invested. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is one of my go-to examples of a perfect, fun for everyone PS5 game. Honestly, I keep playing it just to experience that pure joy all over again. If you want a scary thrill ride, Resident Evil Village delivers in spades. It's the 8th main game in the RE series, so you kind of step into an ongoing saga. But you can jump in without playing all the others. You play as Ethan Winters again, and this time he ends up in a creepy village filled with werewolves and the legendary Lady Dimitrescu. Yes, the giant vampire lady on the internet. Let me tell you, the atmosphere is intense. I was clenching my fist through more than one scene. Gameplay is a mix of exploration, puzzles, and tense combat. You scavenge around, solving puzzles to progress, and then bam, combat can pop up, and you have to react fast. I remember a few moments where my heart raced, like when a mutant dog burst through a wall and I had to dive away. The weapons feel powerful. Something as simple as firing a shotgun with the DualSense made me feel totally in control. Village is definitely scarier than your average game, but it does it in such a cinematic way that you almost feel like you're in a horror movie. The monsters look and sound terrifying, and the puzzles scattered around will have you scratching your head in a good way. There's also some dark humor sprinkled in. Even Lady D has a delightfully sarcastic turn. It's not jump scare cheap horror, it's a well-crafted spooky adventure. In the end, Resident Evil Village is a fantastic pick if you want your PS5 games with a side of terror. It's a bit scarier than most, but never so complicated that newbies can't enjoy it. I honestly found it thrilling, jumping when monsters exploded out of nowhere and grinning through the epic boss fights. If you want a game that's thrilling and looks amazing, Village is a winner. Just don't play it in the dark if you scare easily. Returnal might seem like an odd pick for new players. It's a hardcore roguelike shooter, but hear me out. It's also one of the most thrilling experiences on PS5. As soon as I started, I was mesmerized by the alien world and killer atmosphere. You play as an astronaut stuck in a time loop on a creepy, constantly shifting planet. Every time I loaded the game, I was on edge. The sound design and eerie visuals are next level immersive. The action is fast-paced and intense. You're constantly dodging tentacles, lasers, and giant mutant spiders while gunning down waves of enemies. I'll admit, I died a lot at first and cursed under my breath, but that's the point. Returnal always keeps you on your toes. The DualSense really sells it. Every hit you take or gun you fire resonates in the controller, making each firefight feel weighty. And there's a cool sense of progression. Each run unlocks new weapons or abilities, which made me eager to try again and improve. If you love a challenge and don't mind a bit of frustration, Returnal rewards you big time. I remember finally beating one of the toughest bosses and practically falling out of my chair in triumph. The story is pieced together in psychedelic flashbacks too, so there's a mystery to unravel about why you're stuck there. It's not like any other game I've played, part shooter, part horror, part sci-fi mystery, and that uniqueness stuck with me long after I stopped playing. In the end, Returnal isn't a casual stroll, it's a bullet fest that demands perseverance. But if you give it a chance, it's the kind of game that thrills you every time you improve. It truly feels like a next-gen exclusive and one of the most intense rides on PS5. I'd say take breaks if you have to, but try not to sleep on this one. You might just find your new adrenaline fix. Sackboy's up and at 'em in a big adventure, and wow, is it cute and charming. This game is basically like running through a 3D storybook. Picture plush jungles, whimsical castles, and even a level made of candy. Sackboy himself is irresistibly adorable with his knitted textures and googly eyes. Every environment looks so detailed and crafty that I half expected my TV to sneeze. It just feels like a PlayStation dreamland come to life. The platforming is solid and wide open. I loved vaulting over springs and solving puzzles to collect hidden items, especially when unlocking a goofy new costume. It's challenging enough to be interesting, but it never felt unfair, so my little cousin and I had no trouble tackling it together. Speaking of which, a big adventure shines with friends or family in couch co-op. We teamed up to conquer tricky levels, and the whole room was filled with laughter and silly high fives. Visually and musically, the game is a treat too. There's a stellar soundtrack that got stuck in my head, and the colors pop in 4K like a kid's fantasy book. Even if you're not the best at platformers, Sackboy gently guides you along. There are plenty of power-ups and checkpoints so you won't pull your hair out. And the quirky characters and costumes, I once turned Sackboy into a dragon outfit, make everything feel personal and fun. In short, Sackboy. A Big Adventure is a delightful platformer that newcomers will love. It's fun, stress-free, and packed with charm. Honestly, after playing this, I couldn't stop smiling. It reminded me of the simple joy of playing games as a kid. If you want a super cute PS5 adventure that's all about fun, this one's a no-brainer. The Last of Us Part 1 is a gut-wrenching survival adventure, and a perfect example of storytelling at its best on PS5. You play as Joel, an ex-smuggler in a post-apocalyptic world, and his companion Ellie, a tough teenage girl. When I first experienced the ruined cityscapes and quiet, tension-filled corridors, I felt completely immersed. The graphics are incredible. I remember one scene where a sunny field, once a playground, looked beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. Gameplay is stealthy and tense. You scavenge for resources, craft your own weapons, and carefully sneak past or confront infected and hostile survivors. I'll never forget that first moment I took out a clicker with a stealthy knife kill. The sense of relief was unreal. The controls are tight, and the way the game uses the DualSense silent steps rumbling in your hands, makes every encounter feel intense. It's suspenseful, but it never feels cheap. You always feel like your choices matter. But what really sets this apart is the story. The bond between Joel and Ellie is written so well that you'll find yourself rooting for them like family. Without spoiling, it's an emotional roller coaster. One moment had me laughing, the next I was literally tearing up. The voice acting and music are top-notch, and the game tackles themes of hope, love, and survival in a way that hits hard. Seriously, I've never played a story this powerful in a game. If you want a game that feels like a movie but one you're part of, The Last of Us is a must-play. It's been remade beautifully for the PS5, so everything looks and runs amazingly smooth. Just a heads up, it's heavy stuff and not exactly lighthearted, but if you're ready for it, you'll be blown away. I finished it and spent days thinking about it. That's how good it is. New players, grab some tissues and dive in. Astro's Playroom is like a giant welcome hug from the PS5. The first time I booted up my brand new console, this little robot game was sitting right there, pre-installed and free. And let me tell you, it was love at first buzz. The levels are bright and bouncy, with Astro the robot hopping around on platforms that feel as real as they look, thanks to the DualSense controller's magic. I remember jumping across giant cardboard boxes and feeling my controller rumble differently for each one. Every step, every jump, even every enemy squish has its own unique feeling. It's subtle, but it really feels like the PS5 itself is coming alive in your hands. Trust me, that haptic feedback and those adaptive triggers make even the simplest jumps so satisfying. What I really enjoy is the nostalgia sprinkle. Astro's worlds are packed with Easter eggs and playful references to PlayStation history. One moment you're exploring a jungle planet, and the next you'll spot a classic PlayStation memory card or even a cameo from Crash Bandicoot. It's like racing through a PlayStation museum that also happens to be a super fun platformer, complete with humor and charm. For new players, Astro's Playroom is the perfect starter game. It's easy to pick up, showcases the DualSense controller like nothing else, and it's just plain delightful to play. Honestly, I still boot it up whenever I want a quick, cheerful reminder of why I got so excited about the PS5 in the first place. Death Stranding. Director's Cut is, well, it's unlike anything I've ever played before, and I mean that in the best way possible. It's basically a walking simulator across gorgeous, ghostly landscapes, but stick with it. It grows on you. You play as Sam Porter Bridges, a courier in a hauntingly desolate America, delivering packages and reconnecting isolated outposts. The moment I started trekking through rain and mud, feeling the DualSense trigger pull as I balanced my cargo, I thought, okay, this is weirdly relaxing. The gameplay is as calm or as intense as you make it. I found myself carefully planning routes, then sometimes sprinting for a creepy baby pod light years away. And yeah, sometimes you get chased by ghostly monsters if you're careless, which got my heart racing. There are new toys in the director's cut too, like fun vehicles and a zipline gun to make traveling faster. It sounds strange, but delivering that last package and meeting a lonely character on the road gave me a really unexpected sense of accomplishment. It's definitely a story-heavy, artsy experience. The game is packed with symbolism and philosophical twists that might make you scratch your head, but it's also heartfelt. When I had to carry a tiny plush bunny across the wilderness to comfort a sick kid character, I was genuinely moved. The music and visuals build this unique atmosphere, sometimes eerie, sometimes oddly beautiful. I know it's not for everyone, but if you go in with an open mind, it can feel like poetry. So what's the verdict? Death Stranding is bizarre and slower paced, but it's also kind of brilliant. It taught me patience, and by the end I felt strangely connected to the world and its people. For a new player, I'd say watch the story unfold and just go with the flow. It's more about the journey and your reflection than the action. Personally, I find it haunting in a beautiful way, and I'm still thinking about those lonely walks across the broken earth. If you want something completely different on PS5, give it a shot. Demon's Souls on PS5 is the ultimate challenge, but also an incredible showcase of what the console can do. Just look at it. Every grim gothic castle and flickering torch is beautifully rendered. The first time I saw the demon-themed armor and haunting landscapes, I was in awe. But be warned, this is a game that will test you. Seriously, I took 2 weeks off work after my first few boss fights. In Demon's Souls, dying feels almost expected, and that's part of the thrill. The combat is strategic. You block, dodge, and strike carefully, because every enemy hit can kill you if you're not cautious. I'll never forget the rush of finally defeating a boss I'd been stuck on. It felt like climbing Everest. The DualSense adds to the experience too. Every sword clash and spell blast shakes through the controller, making each victory feel earned. Now, I know this game can be brutal, especially for newbies. The story and progression aren't super hand-holding. You mostly learn by trial and error, but if you do decide to jump in, you'll experience a game that really set a new standard back in the day. The remake is beautiful. The soundtrack is spine-chilling, and you'll always remember how every corner feels dangerous. It's less about fancy showboating and more about skillful patience, but I promise the feeling of success in Demon's Souls is very rewarding. In the end, I'd say Demon's Souls is a masterpiece for those who dare. It's not a cakewalk by any means, but it's one of the most satisfying experiences you can have on a PS5 if you enjoy a challenge. For a new player, maybe start with some other games on this list first and come back to it later. But if you're feeling brave, be ready. Demon's Souls might just blow your mind and teach you a lot about gaming perseverance. Disco Elysium. The Final Cut is a detective story unlike any other. It's basically a top-down RPG where you solve a murder in a gritty, imaginative city. The first time I played, I realized quickly, this is all about talking, not fighting. You have a character with different skills for things like empathy and logic, and the way I built my detective totally changed the dialogue. For example, my first playthrough had me obsessing over an inner persona that thought I was a 70s rock star. It led to some hilarious conversations I never saw coming. Every choice matters, and the writing is incredibly witty and deep. I laughed at some of the absurd situations, but other parts really made me think about life's bigger questions. It's dark and surreal, but it also has plenty of humor. Playing Disco Elysium feels more like reading an engaging novel without lots of branching paths. And the Final Cut adds full voice acting to bring all those quirky characters to life, which makes it even more immersive. I have to admit, Disco Elysium is more for those who really love story and roleplay, not an action fan's usual pick. But if you like solving puzzles with your brain, instead of guns, it can be incredibly rewarding. I found myself completely absorbed in the city of Revachol and the little mysteries around every corner. By the end, I felt like I'd been on a psychedelic trip. It's not your typical run-and-gun PS5 game, but it's memorable and thought-provoking. In summary, Disco Elysium is one of those rare games that feels like art. For a new player, just be prepared for loads of reading and dialogue. There's tons of text here, but if you're in for a slow burn, you'll discover a deep, original world that rewards your curiosity. I personally found it refreshingly different, and it stuck with me long after I finished. If you like unique stories and are okay with thinking a lot, give it a try. You just might find it astonishingly brilliant. Elden Ring is the epic open-world adventure from the makers of Dark Souls, and yes, it's massive. The second you set foot in the lands between, you're greeted by a colossal, crumbling castle guarded by a dragon. I stood there, controller in hand, feeling humbled by the scale of it. The world is huge and free-roaming. I spent an hour just walking around getting a lay of the land. The graphics and design create a rich, fantastical world that feels like a painting come to life. This one, I have to be honest, it is challenging, but also incredibly rewarding. Combat is similar to Souls, meaning it requires patience, but you can explore anywhere you want. I remember getting stuck on a tough enemy, then going to a totally different area to power up. The game even lets you summon helpers for boss fights, which was a lifesaver for me more than once. Beating a hard boss felt amazing. I ended up cheering at the TV when I finally did it. Besides the fights, Elden Ring lets you just live in its world. I often climbed towers or rode a spectral horse to new towns, discovering small stories and characters along the way. For example, I once saved a merchant and got a special weapon as thanks. The lore is scattered in items and NPCs, so if you're curious, every corner has something to uncover. It's exactly the kind of game where you think, I'll just explore a bit, and then realize 3 hours have flown by. So Elden Ring is definitely one of those must-have PS5 games. It's tough, but I promise the sense of adventure is like nothing else. For a new player, you might need some patience or maybe tag team with a friend online sometimes. But if you stick with it, you'll experience one of the most epic journeys on any console. I know I have, and I still go back to ride around that beautiful world. It's an awesome way to show just how massive and varied gaming can be on the PS5. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Intergrade is a modern reimagining of a gaming classic that looks incredible on PS5. It's a JRPG with heart-pounding action sequences. I remember launching Cloud and Tifa through the air while strings swelled in the background and thinking, this is a dream come true. The graphics are gorgeous. The city of Midgar glistens in neon and rain, and the music, plus some new tracks, had me humming for days. Combat is a great blend of real-time and strategy. You can swing swords and dodge in real time, then pause to unleash special abilities and magic using your ATB points. I love that I could switch between characters on the fly. 1 second I was slashing with Cloud, the next using Barrett's gun arm to blast enemies. There's even a brand new episode featuring Yuffie that adds fresh missions and weapons to collect. The game keeps things fast-paced, so even if you're new to turn-based RPGs, it never feels too slow or overwhelming. But what really hooked me was the story and characters. They expanded on the original tale beautifully. Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and the rest feel like real, lovable people, not just pixels on a screen. There are surprises and emotional moments that'll probably make longtime fans cheer or cry. No spoilers, I promise. For someone new, it's an exciting sci-fi fantasy with good humor and epic moments. After playing, I ended up devouring every piece of DLC and story tidbit I could find. In short, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is a must-play for anyone who loves RPG adventures. It's very newbie-friendly and holds your hand through the basics while still offering depth for veterans. By the time I finished it, I was already hyped for the next installment. If you enjoy great storytelling, cool character development, and exciting combat, go play this now. You won't be disappointed. Honestly, this game got me hooked back into the Final Fantasy series. Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut, is a samurai epic that feels straight out of a movie. You play as Jin Sakai, a samurai defending his home island during a Mongol invasion, and from the first sword clash to the last, it's incredibly cinematic. The landscapes are stunning. Golden fields, swirling fog, crimson maple trees. One of the most peaceful sights for me was riding on horseback at sunset under falling leaves. I remember stopping to take a screenshot because every frame looked like art. Combat is smooth and satisfying. Jin can wade into battle with fierce sword combos or sneak through grass with his bow and stealth tactics, the famous Ghost style. I loved switching between calm, honorable duels and more intense action when needed. Each fight feels rewarding, and the haptic feedback made me feel each slice and clash. Each area also has unique mini-stories. I saved villagers from bandits, helped elderly farmers with their fields, and each felt meaningful. It's not just action though, there's tons of exploration and relaxation too. You can hunt foxes to unlock memory quests or follow glowing foxes to shrines for upgrades. I spent a whole afternoon just climbing hills and exploring a bamboo forest. It was so serene. The director's cut on PS5 adds an entire extra island, Iki, to explore, which means even more pretty vistas and battles to enjoy. Every so often, the game even lets you switch to a black and white Kurosawa mode that looks exactly like an old samurai movie. For anyone with a PS5 craving a beautiful open-world story, Ghost of Tsushima is a winner. It's easy to learn but still has depth, so newbies can jump right in. I'll never forget my first duel under a rain-swept willow tree. Felt like something out of a Kurosawa film. If you love adventure, history, or just a seriously gorgeous video game, you'll find a lot to love here. I know I keep returning to ride Jin's horse through those fields long after I beat the game. God of War Ragnarök is one of those cinematic epics that just screams big emotional adventure. This sequel to the 2018 smash hit follows Kratos and his son Atreus through a mythic Norse world, and trust me, even if you haven't played the first game, you'll be hooked by the stunning story. I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say, every time I saw the sun set over a frigid mountain or battled an armored ice giant, I was floored by the graphics. On PS5, the details are mind-blowing, from the glint on Kratos' blade to the swirling snow in the air. When it comes to gameplay, Kratos wields his iconic Leviathan axe and shield with brutal strength. I found myself masterfully chaining combos and blocking enemy attacks in a dance that felt incredibly satisfying. The game eases new players in with Atreus by your side. The boy helps pelt enemies with arrows or distract foes so you don't feel totally alone in big battles. Every fight feels epic, whether you're squaring off against a horde of undead warriors or a colossal troll smashing the ground. But what really pulls you in is the story and characters. Kratos is tackling being a father again, and Atreus is growing up fast, and there's a lot of heart there. I teared up at more than one scene and chuckled at Kratos' dry jokes too. The writing is top-notch, and the acting is great, so you actually care about these characters' journey. For example, a quiet conversation by the campfire can hit just as hard emotionally as a battlefield victory. It's that well done. In short, Ragnarök is an incredible PlayStation 5 adventure. It's long, but you'll be glued to your screen the whole time. If you love a touching father-son tale sprinkled with intense fights and jaw-dropping vistas, this is a must-play. Personally, this game set the bar so high for me that I still think about it often. Playing God of War Ragnarök felt like being in one of the most epic movies ever, in controller form. Gran Turismo 7 is the gold standard for racing sims on the PS5. If you love cars and speed, this is a no-brainer pick. The graphics are jaw-droppingly realistic. The first time I zoomed down a highway in a classic Mustang, I almost felt the wind on my face. Every detail of every car is crisp, from reflections on the hood to dust on the tires, which makes each race feel real. The gameplay and physics are deep. You can tweak your car setup, tune your engine, or just pop the assists on and barrel through for fun. I'll admit, I was a bit of a noob at first. Crashing into walls is surprisingly easy, but the game has a great tutorial and options. Before I knew it, I was landing tight corners and winning races. The steering wheel or DualSense, really grabs your attention with the feedback when you drift a turn or slam the brake. There are hundreds of cars and tracks. I spent hours just browsing the Museum of Classic Cars and dreaming about hot rods. Then jumping into a race was like living out a high-speed fantasy. And if you're not a single-player fan, GT7 even has online multiplayer to race real people. But honestly, sometimes I just hop on for a calm evening drive. After a long day, cruising a scenic mountain road while some late-night jazz plays in my headphones was oddly relaxing. So yeah, Gran Turismo 7 might not be a hack-and-slash blockbuster, but it's a crown jewel in any PS5 collection. Even as a newbie driver, I found it accessible and rewarding. It might teach you a thing or two about real racing technique. Bottom line, if you have even a little love for cars, flooring the gas in GT7 will make it well worth your time. I'll be on the track again this weekend for sure. Hogwarts Legacy is basically every Harry Potter fan's dream come true. You create your own student at Hogwarts in the 1800s. Yep, way before Harry's time. And then you get to attend classes, learn spells, and explore the famous school. The first time I set foot in the Great Hall or took a broomstick ride past the castle, I felt like a kid in a candy store. It all looks so authentic. Even the portraits and moving staircases feel straight out of the book. I spent a good 5 minutes just soaking in the atmosphere before even doing any magic. But it's not just about looks. The gameplay is fun too. You can brew potions, duel with other students, and even ride magical creatures. I loved customizing my character's spells. Axio to play fetch with a goblin? Heck yes. Sometimes I just fly around the Forbidden Forest to hunt for ingredients, and the side quests are surprisingly interesting. I once helped a lonely ghost find closure, which was really touching. The game guides you pretty well, so even if you haven't read all the books, you'll catch on quickly. The story deals with ancient secrets and has some big twists. I won't spoil them. It's not a comedy. Sometimes things get pretty serious, and there are some tough battles. But the characters you meet are memorable. I have to admit, I got pretty attached to my silly owl sidekick. He had me laughing with some of his hoots. And oh, the music! There are some truly epic tracks, especially when you're exploring Hogsmeade or storming a dungeon. In summary, Hogwarts Legacy is a magical must-play on PS5. It's a big open-world RPG, but it holds your hand through the basics. After playing, I almost wished I could enroll for real. New players will find it very welcoming, and Potter fans will be in heaven. I mean, casting spells and flying a broom on the PS5. What's not to love? If you've ever dreamt of being a wizard or witch, put on your robes and give this one a try. Horizon Forbidden West plunges you into one of the most breathtaking worlds on PS5. You play as Aloy, a fierce hunter in a world ruled by giant robot dinosaurs, and trust me, it looks amazing. I often stopped just to stare at the incredible landscapes. The lush jungle ruins of San Francisco, shimmering underwater temples, and sunlit golden deserts. The level of detail on every machine creature is unreal. When a giant tripod robot stomped past, I felt like I was in Jurassic Park. But it's not all pretty scenery. The game's combat and exploration are top-notch too. Aloy uses high-tech bows, swords, and traps to take down those beasts. I'll never forget launching a sticky bomb and watching it explode under a hulking robotic dino. The booms vibrated through my controller in the best way. The game does a great job helping new players too. It has flexible difficulty and fun challenges, so you can focus on hunting, exploring, or just enjoying the story at your own pace. The story of Aloy's journey is epic, but easy to follow. She's on a mission to save what's left of humanity, and along the way you meet tribes, collect cool gear, and uncover ancient secrets. Aloy herself is awesome. She's brave, sarcastic, and smart, so I really enjoyed playing as her. Plus, Forbidden West has a sense of wonder that kept pulling me in. Even a simple sunrise in the plains can feel beautiful and full of promise in this world. If you like open-world adventures with a sci-fi twist, you can't miss Horizon Forbidden West. It's perfect for new PS5 owners because it's epic without being overwhelming. I felt like I could go at my own speed. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like swooping down on a flying robot with a gravity hammer. It's games like this that make the PS5 feel magical, and I promise you'll have a blast exploring every corner of its wild world. It Takes Two is one of the most creative co-op games I've ever played. It's all about teamwork as you guide a mom and dad who've been magically turned into dolls on a wild adventure to fix their relationship. The game zaps you straight into a colorful, cartoon-like world every couple of minutes with brand new mechanics. One level had me grooving to the music, another had me exploring a giant, dusty attic. It feels like you're in a constantly changing theme park of ideas. Each level plays differently, keeping things fresh. Sometimes I was solving puzzles by synchronizing with my friend, and other times we were in a fast-paced ice rocket race. The platforming and controls are polished. Nothing feels clunky or unfair. One of my favorite moments was when my character used a leaf blower to propel both of us across a field. It was silly but genius. This variety kept us on our toes and giggling the whole time. The story is surprisingly sweet. Under all the wacky mechanics, you're really rooting for these two characters to find their way back to each other. The dialogue made me laugh out loud more times than I can count, but it also hits some heartfelt heartfelt notes. We actually got a little invested in their goofy little drama, which made every cooperative victory feel all the more satisfying. If you have a friend or partner, It Takes Two is absolutely a must-play. It's built for 2-player, one control scheme each, and it never feels like one person has an easier job. We had so much fun collaborating that it became our new favorite couch co-op. Even if you're new to gaming, the game guides you through everything. Seriously, It Takes Two is a perfect way to have a fun time and share some laughs together on the PS5. Kena, Bridge of Spirits is like stepping into a gorgeous animated film. You play as Kena, a young spirit guide with a magical staff, exploring lush forests and ancient ruins. The first thing I noticed was how beautiful everything looks. The colors pop and the tiny spirit creatures called the Rot are absolutely adorable. I often pause the game just to admire the scenery from glowing caves to sparkling rivers. The gameplay mixes light combat with exploration and puzzles. Kena can dash and use her staff to fight enemies, but what really stole my heart are the little Rot helpers. These fuzzy black creatures help you solve puzzles and enhance your powers like a magical entourage. When I first unleashed a big attack with a dozen Rot cheering me on, I couldn't help but grin. The fighting is easy enough to pick up, making it great for newcomers. The story is sweet and gentle. Kana is helping lost spirits find peace, and it's very touching. I found myself really caring about these little forest souls and their problems. It's not a long game, so it never wears out its welcome. Every challenge felt satisfying but fair. After playing, I felt uplifted. The music and voice acting are lovely, which made the whole experience feel enchanting. In short, Kena, Bridge of Spirits is a heartwarming indie gem that's perfect for newbies. It's not too hard, extremely charming, and feels like a little adventure you'd watch with family. I keep coming back just to have a calm, joyful gaming session. It proved that small games can be just as magical as big blockbusters. Give this one a try if you want a game that feels wholesome and delightful. Right out of the gate, Spider-Man. Miles Morales dazzles with PS5 power. Swinging through a snowy, holiday-lit Manhattan is an absolute adrenaline rush, and thanks to the PS5's speed, you barely feel a single loading screen. The cityscape looks so crisp and alive. I still remember gliding under those massive decorations and feeling like a real superhero. Put simply, this game had me grinning ear to ear from the first web swing. Combat is fast and fun too. Miles has some cool new tricks, toxic venom blasts and invisibility cloak, you name it, which make fights even more exciting. One second I was dodging a gang of thugs, the next I was flipping around in slow motion with a deadly electric punch, feeling every hit through the controller's feedback. The whole thing feels so smooth and polished even if you're new, so it never gets frustrating. Story-wise, Miles Morales stands strong all on its own. You can jump right in without playing the original Marvel's Spider-Man. I found myself rooting for young Miles as he steps up to protect his neighborhood while juggling school and family life. It's a surprisingly heartfelt tale. The characters are great. Even Peter Parker pops in to assist, and the dialogue had me chuckling a few times. So yep, if you want a superhero game that looks fantastic on PS5 and keeps your thumbs busy, Miles Morales is a blast. I keep going back just to swing around the city with no agenda because it always puts me in a great mood. New players will find it easy to pick up and hard to put down. After one web swing, you'll feel like a hero yourself. And there you have it, 20 fantastic games that should get any PS5 newbie off to an epic start. Honestly, I'm kinda jealous if you're experiencing some of these for the first time. Remember that magical feeling of booting up a great game and realizing you found something truly special? Yep, you're about to have a ton of those moments. But hey, what about you? Which of these games caught your eye? Did I miss one that you think absolutely deserves a spot on the list? Drop a comment below. I genuinely love hearing your takes, and who knows, you might help another new player find their next favorite game. If you enjoyed hanging out with me today, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. It's like giving me a virtual high five. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more gaming lists, reviews, and all-around good time. Because let's face it, the PS5 journey has only just begun, and we've got plenty more adventures ahead. Thanks a bunch for spending your time here today. Now go forth, download those games, and have a blast. Until next time, keep your controllers charged, your snacks within reach, and happy gaming.